The method she uses to explain the volume of the record player to Mac is used many times throughout the film. She tells him that the rest of the patients wouldn't like it if she turned the music down. Makes sense, right? But the reality is, she's using the patients as a foil to keep things the way she likes them. This is her main way of getting what she wants, using the patients as an excuse to keep things in order, just as she likes them. Another key thing we see on display here is the way she smiles, and when she does so. There isn't so much as a crack in her features when she's explaining things to Mac. The only time she can be seen showing any sort of pleasure is when she gets her way, or when making a threat, such as when Mac takes his medicine, stating that if he doesn't want to take it orally, he can take it another way, suggesting, of course, that he do so rectally. This, above all else, seems to be the way she keeps her tight grip on the patients and holds them exactly where she wants them to be, in a constant state of fear and anxiety. To change the schedule would be to change how things are ordered, how she's ordered them. And there's no way someone like her could ever have a change like that made. Unless it was her doing the changing, of course. Once again, she goes on to explain that the patients wouldn't like this. The point here is to show even further that this is how she gets what she wants. She puts a very nice touch on the decision-making here as well. She allows Mac to put it to a vote, which seems great, right? She's not so bad after all. I mean, she's just looking out for her patients and wants to decide things in a fair manner. Right? No. That couldn't be further from the truth. Ratched here knows full well that few, if any, of the patients, at this point at least, are going to do anything that isn't according to her will.
So no matter what, this news is an artificial program every day to convince you that everything every day is going to make an impact in your life. And it's not. It's not going to matter. If you shut the news off for a month and something major happens, your friends are going to tell you. Your neighbors are going to tell you. You're going to get texts about it. And nothing in your life is going to be really different just because you stopped watching the news. It's the healthiest decision that a lot of people can make right now.
Hello, it's August 2025. Now I'm going to be continuing along with the topic of the Western provinces, specifically Alberta, separating. Now, not too long ago, there was a time when the Western provinces, specifically Alberta, Albertans, used to say with great pride how they carried the whole of Canada, the whole country, financially, and they wore it as a badge of honor, and even elevating themselves to be better than the other provinces because they had the resources which equaled the financial advantages over the other provinces. Now, yes, there were some who were complaining that they were carrying other provinces who, as a descriptive, weren't grateful, but overall it was a badge of honor. But what has changed since that are a few manipulative individuals who want to impose as a descriptive their own worldview, specifically for themselves and maybe even Canada as a whole. They want to impose this on the whole country, which really also impacts the whole world. Now, setting aside those with, for example, generational commitment and the monopoly on violence, who actually control everything from, as a descriptive, behind the curtain, we see how everything is starting to play out. And these few manipulative individuals, just like with the so-called fake hero idiots of the so-called convoy of freedom, these few manipulative people are being played simply as pawns for, once again, those with generational commitment and the monopoly and violence who control everything from behind the curtain. Now, when you look at the world today overall, the Western civilization, one might say even the Western culture, is being very quickly dismantled, erased, destroyed, whatever descriptive you want to use. And it's happening at an alarming rate, to the point where people are even saying, hey, wait a second, I don't know what, using their words, timeline or reality we're living in, because everything has changed. Now, yes, there was a period during the things that, I'm calculating my words here, that began in 2020 and onward, when the whole world was impacted and shut down and everything else, that people are now noticing something had changed during that time. And it's key why, for example, the whole world shutting down and everything that went on happened when it did. But now I digress. But these people are being played, they're being used at a time when we really need to be remaining together and unifying and to become stronger. But it's more important for these individuals, these few manipulative individuals, to, for example, push what they want. It's all about what they want. And when you listen to, for example, Danielle Smith, when she talks, she's talking about what she wants and then saying, well, Albertans, she thinks, she feels, want the same thing. Not the other way around, where she's listening to Albertans in the majority perspective, and then saying, yes, I agree with that. And it really doesn't matter if she agrees or not. The point being is, she's not listening to what the majority wants. And the majority are not aboard for either becoming their own independent nation or joining the United States of America. She is focusing on a very small group of people, 1 in 5, which is 20% of the population. And this is why she had changed the number of signatures needed for referendum from 600,000 to 177,000. I misspoke in my last video, somewhere around 160,000, but whatever. She lowered the standard so that she could push through what she wants. And you really have to listen to when she talks and how manipulative she is when she does that. Now, in a previous video, I did mention how all nations, all provinces, states, even townships, cities, everything, they're all corporations. And just focusing on Canada, for example, the Corporation of Canada is so far in debt, and I've said this many times for many years, how the taxes collected only goes towards the interest of the national debt. This is why when people say, well, I pay my taxes, I pay government employees' salaries and everything else. No. The taxes that are collected from the people, for example, of Canada, goes towards the interest of a national debt. Every nation is in debt, and there's interest on that borrowed money. Now think about this. Just like your credit cards, there's interest. And many people, perhaps most people, at times, if not most of the time, are only able to pay the interest because they're living beyond their means. And what happens when someone cannot even make those minimum payments, or they just downright default? Well, a vehicle, a house gets repossessed, they go bankrupt, they get basically taken over by someone else, the credit grantor. Canada is in huge debt. And yes, I agree that the Western provinces, again, I'm going to focus on Alberta, was crippled by the federal government for the past 10 years. And yes, I do understand some animosity there, but what is taking place now with the Western provinces, specifically Alberta, is only going to make things worse for them as well as everyone else. And this is all part of, as I said in a previous video, of another nation, for example, coming in and acquiring, just like another business to business deal, acquiring the corporation of Canada, or part of it. But I just want to leave with this final thought to remember that everything that's being presented, whether it be mainstream media or alternative media, and I've said repeatedly, alternative media is the new mainstream media. It's been like this for a long time. It's all a dog and pony show, shrouded with smoke and mirrors. And everyone, all the actors, are on the same stage, and not only on the same stage, but they all share the same dressing room. Now keep that in mind when you're listening to perceived elected officials and so forth, and saying, yes, this resonates, or that whatever. It's all a show. And the role of many, are to simply go along with it as NPCs of a computer, like a computer game, on any particular topic. You might have Group A and Group B going against each other in one topic, and then half of each being together going against the other half of each group, going against each other on a different topic. It's all manipulation. It's all psyops. Just things to think about. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.
Now that might sound small, but think about it. 1 in 5 Albertans would rather be American than Canadian. Alberta already trades more with the United States than the rest of Canada's provinces combined. Culturally, Alberta has more in common with Montana than it does with Quebec or the Maritime provinces.
It's time to admit it. Canada's dying. I'm not talking about climate change or American annexation. I'm talking about mass immigration. For the last 40 years, politicians have used Canada's declining birth rate to justify ever-growing immigration levels. And what has it brought us? Our hospitals and schools are overrun, wages are stagnant, and housing is through the roof. But the consequences go far deeper than just economics. You see, Canada's more than just lines on a map or numbers on a graph. Canada is a nation, a distinct people with a shared history and culture. And you can't replace our people without fundamentally transforming our society. And that's exactly what's happening. Whole neighborhoods, even cities, are becoming more like foreign countries. Canada's becoming unrecognizable. And Canadians are starting to notice.
Listen to this and write it down if you can't remember it. You're never going to outgrow warfare. You simply must learn to fight. I hear people saying to me, oh, when is it going to get easier? When you die.